you're tuning into Chamber Chat TV with the Greater Lowell Chamber of Commerce. My name's Emma Brooks. I'm the Director of Member and Community Relations for the Greater Lowell Chamber, and my co-host is
Jean Osborne. I work with LifeLinks. I am the Marketing and Public Relations Manager. And do you want to introduce our first guest?
Yeah, so well, you're certainly becoming a familiar face on Chamber Chat these days. But our first guest, we have Dr. Robert Schreiber here. He's the Vice President and Medical Director of Fallon Health Summit Elder Care Program located at their Duval campus. We're excited to have you on, and we just had you on our radio show recently, so we can continue the great conversation that we had there.
Delighted to be back. Thank you for the opportunity.
So we're here to talk about how more and more people are caring for frail elders or a spouse with chronic health needs while also juggling work. So that can be a huge challenge for a lot of people. And we're here to talk about some of the resources that are available to them. But first things first, let's talk about caregiving. Who are caregivers and what exactly are they doing?
So caregivers can be almost anybody. It could be family members, it can be a spouse, it can be a brother, it can be a nephew, a niece, or it could just be somebody who's a friend. When you really look at the number of caregivers, oftentimes people do not self-identify as caregivers, but in fact that's what they're doing. So anytime you're maybe going over a grandparent's house or an aunt's house and helping out, taking them shopping, that's a form of caregiving. So it really is pretty ubiquitous. And the problem with caregiving is that we oftentimes underestimate what it is, or we don't think of it as caregiving, but in fact, the individuals that we're helping are really dependent on what we do. And if that goes away, the impact can be pretty traumatic to the individual.
So a lot of people that are caregivers might not even necessarily realize it, just because a lot of people, when I think you picture a caregiver, you picture someone who's there 24/7, but it really isn't that. It's even like you said, if they're dependent on what you do, no matter how big or little it is, that's exactly what they are, a caregiver.
Correct. There was a national study done in terms of caregiving, and it's pretty significant numbers of people do not self-identify as caregivers, including spouses that are caregivers, but do not think of themselves as a caregiver. They think of themselves as a spouse. And what I do, well, we're married, and this is just what I do. I do the cooking, and I do the cleaning, and I do the yard work. But in fact, they're doing caregiving. And so knowing that is important because it does put people at risk for other types of conditions. And the other thing is, if something happens to that primary caregiver, what's the plan B? What's the plan C? And oftentimes, if you haven't identified that or thought about that, when something happens to the primary caregiver, there is not anything in place to help the individual who's in need of care staying in the home.
Right. Because we were talking about, children, of older, parents who need to, become caregivers and become advocates for their family members, because sometimes they can't advocate for themselves because they have a dementia or Alzheimer's or are just too frail.
Exactly. So I think that, the importance of family is critical. A lot of people don't have family, but if you do have family, you do have children, even if they live fairly far away, they still can be caregivers. There's something called distance caregiving, in which an individual can either be calling on a daily basis, arranging for services, or even coming out once a month to spend a weekend and to spell the primary caregiver. So distance caregiving is really important. And it's important that as a family unit, you talk about how people, even if they do live remotely, how they can come out. Can they come out for a week during the summer to help spell people so that, the primary caregiving team can, get away. I also think advocacy is really important. And I don't know about you, but just even being a patient myself, when you go to a doctor's office and something is wrong with you or you need to have tests, it gets a little intense and you may not hear everything and you may not understand it. I'm a physician and I've had those circumstances, and I'll be sitting there, it's like, what did he say? Oh,
Right.
Especially
if it's not good news. You
Right.
always want that other peer of
Or,
peers to hear what's going on and to ask the questions, because the person who's affected is probably sitting in some kind of state of shock.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
they hear one thing, they think one thing.
Yep.
And someone needs to be the other pair of ears and hear and ask questions.
Exactly. And also to advocate, like you said, if somebody needs something or has preferences and they're not comfortable speaking up about that, the caregiver who knows that individual can make certain that those things are noted so that if they're not available and there's other people responsible for taking care of that individual, your loved one, they know about that. So very important.
But also, that generation is the generation that believes everything the doctor says is gospel. You know, they were brought up not to question the doctor. The doctor is always right. And, you know, he said, I need this. Maybe you don't need that. Maybe you need a second opinion. Or,
Yes, I'm going through that with my in-laws now, and it is maddening to me that they don't ask questions, even to the point now where my wife is now going to those appointments with my mother-in-law to ensure that those questions, one, get asked, and that she understands the answers, because oftentimes there'll be answers, but they won't understand them, they won't write them down, and they'll just say, well, the doctor said I need to do this.
Right.
But why?
Yeah.
but they don't question the
They don't question
why.
it. Don't question it. No. And so part of this advocacy is teaching caregivers. Caregivers need to learn how to advocate, but also to ensure that, you know, the person they're caring for is also able to be vocal. So giving permission, you know, making certain that people, if they look uncomfortable, say, you're uncomfortable, tell me what's the matter.
Yeah.
Even if they can't describe it, are you uncomfortable? It's really important that we as caregivers, formal or informal caregivers, are aware of that and make it comfortable for people to speak up and to acknowledge that and then do something, even if we don't understand what it is that they may be having issues with, to make certain that we do something about it, get somebody else involved, call the family saying, you know, something is wrong with your mom, I can't figure it out, et cetera. So just that understanding and ability to ask the question and just not accept, well, I don't know.
Right, right.
So no matter what level you're at when it comes to caregiving, it's obviously a huge responsibility. How does this affect someone's personal and professional life?
Yes, well, I don't know if you've both been caregivers. I think we were talking, and yes, you have. And these are things that happen with caregiving. You can go from having a normal relationship with no responsibilities to overnight having to be a caregiver.
Right.
And having been a caregiver as a son, as a brother, as a nephew, and now as a son-in-law, I can tell you that it is very, very challenging. One, it's emotionally difficult. Two, it's physically difficult and mentally difficult. So if you have a full-time job and have other responsibilities, and you have a house and children, oftentimes the caregivers sort of in a sandwich generation. So you may have parents, and then you may have children, and they both have needs, plus your own personal needs. So if you don't have a plan and a strategy and develop a team and a village around you, it really can take a significant toll on the individual caregiver. So, asking for help is important, and we have to encourage that, but we also have to go to people, if you know they're a caregiver, not ask if you can help them. You want to help, what can you do? Just offer to do things. I'll go do that.
Yep.
Don't even, say, well, would it be okay if I did this? Just say, look, I really want to help. Let me do this, or come in and just say, look, you need to go out and you have stuff to take care of. I'll sit with, mom, or I'll sit, with, my aunt or whatever it is, but really make that offer and take advantage.
I love that you said it takes a village too, because it really does. Like one person cannot do that all themselves. It would be way too much.
No, it's almost impossible. And I can tell you, like I said, if something happens to the caregiver, who's going to be the substitute caregiver? So that's why it's really important. So when I talk to families and there is only a primary caregiver and there's other family members involved, if they don't think about what happens if if you get sick, who's going to take the place?
Right.
We're going through that with my in-laws and my wife. We don't have a plan B. My wife is the plan B, but they have not talked about that. So what does that mean? Where would my mother-in-law have to be? Or if my father-in-law got sick, who's going to be able to take care of both of my father-in-law and my mother-in-law? So those are the types of things you have to have discussions about.
So with Fallon and the PACE program, how does that, let's talk about what they can help with.
Right. So there are programs out in the community to help take the burden off caregivers. The PACE program is called the Program for All-Inclusive Care for Elders, and it's been around for over 30 years. And it's a program that allows frail older adults, 55 and older, who have multiple functional needs. So they have two disabilities or two issues involving the activities of daily living: dressing, cleaning, walking, transferring. They can come to a program where they get wraparound care. We were talking about keeping people well.
Right.
Health outcomes are driven mostly not by medical care and medicines. It's by social supports, having emotional well-being, healthy behaviors, good sleep, good nutrition. And so it's all these other additional supports that are important. Being able to get out and visit and go to the doctors or go shopping, transportation needs. So what PACE does is we do a wraparound care that allows caregivers during the day to work or do things they need to do, where people can come to a day center and do activities, exercise programs, stimulation of the mind, hobbies, crafts, get out of the house, make friends, be part of a community or a village, but allows the caregiver to get some time to do what they need to do, and then allows the caregiver to pick up at the end of the day,
Right.
and then do what they need to
So
do.
it's almost respite care for the day.
It is. It's respite care, but it's more than that. It's actually giving people purpose and meaning. We've had many, many frail people who really are sort of have advanced illness with limited life expectancy, where if you looked at the statistics, you would say, okay, they only have a couple years, maybe a year. And we've had people that have lived on for many more years because they had a sense of purpose. They were part of a community. People looked forward to them coming, and they contributed to other people's lives. So it's very challenging when you are having a disability or you have inability to get out. By being socially isolated, you shut down, and that affects your health. By being able to get out into the community, having the means through a program such as PACE, you're able to actually still contribute and be a meaningful member of the community. And so we've seen amazing, amazing things.
And because we're in Greater Lowell, where is the program for PACE here? Is that at Duval?
It's on the Duval campus,
Yep.
and it's a brand new building. It's able to use a lot of the Duval services, so that's really nice. And so many of the people on the Duval campus are learning about the program, but it's also open to the public. We were talking about who's eligible. What historically has happened with PACE, PACE is now in 31 states. Usually it's been for Medicare and Medicaid populations, so people have to be poor in order to be part of the program, meaning limited income and limited savings. But you can actually be in Medicare and not be quote unquote quote, poor and still be in the program. You would have to pay the Medicaid portion,
Okay.
which is about $4,000 in Massachusetts per month. But for your medications, that includes your medications, that includes transportation, that includes daycare, that includes care in the home, home care services,
Wow.
wraparound. So if you're really having significant issues and you need a lot of support, this is a program that's open to all populations.
And it's covered by?
It is covered by Medicare, but the Medicaid portion for those social services, you would be paying a monthly fee to the organization. We have a small percentage of people who do that because when they looked at the total cost, it was much cheaper.
But when you think of the cost of assisted living,
Yep.
out of pocket, because assisted living
Yes.
is, you're either on long-term care insurance or you're paying out of pocket.
Yep.
$4,000 a year.
That's
for,
right.
For care that is wraparound is phenomenal.
It is a real option, and a lot of people take this as the option versus going to assisted living. The other piece is that assisted living is very limited in Massachusetts on what it can and cannot do. So oftentimes if you go to the hospital or the emergency department, they may not take you back because your care needs are a little bit more than what they can officially handle. So this is a really nice option if you do have family to be able to stay in your home, stay in the community, and do it in a way that's very cost effective.
Which is what everyone ultimately wants.
That's
Right.
what 99.9% of people I know want.
And believe it or not, we only have about a minute left. So can you tell everyone, I know you have an event coming up on May 4th. Can you tell them about that and then give them your contact information as well if they want to reach out and find out more about PACE?
Absolutely. So the forum that we're having, it's a half-day session. It's the cost of caregiving, and it involves how individuals and families are able to manage the personal and the challenges that caregiving affords and what is available in terms of the community and how to manage that. And there's a pretty illustrious group of people, caregivers, people from the state, from the Executive Office of Elder Affairs. Alice Bonner will be there, but to really talk about how as a village and how as a state we need to deal with this. And so it's, I think, May 4th. And if people are interested, they can contact me directly at robert.schreiber@fallonhealth.org. Or they can go on the website, the Fallon Health website, and there's on the webpage, there's an easy way to enroll.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for the opportunity.
We
Yeah,
always
a pleasure.
enjoy speaking with you, and I think this is a topic a lot of people can relate to, so it's always great information.
Very important.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. And thank you for tuning in. We'll be back with another segment of Chamber Chat TV.
Does your business want to be identified as a community partner?
តើអ្នកមានបំណងចង់ឲ្យក្រុមហ៊ុនរបស់អ្នកជាដៃគូសហគមន៍ដែរឬទេ
Reach 30,000 households in Lowell as an LTC programming underwriter.
អ្នកអាចសម្រេចគោលបំណងនេះបានដោយធ្វើជាអ្នកឧបត្ថម្ភកម្មវិធីម្នាក់របស់ទូរទស្សន៍ LTC ដែលអាចផ្សព្វផ្សាយព័ត៌មានទៅដល់ 30,000 គ្រួសារនៅក្នុងទីក្រុង Lowell.
Get the details at ltc.org/participate.
Welcome back to Chamber Chat TV. My name's Emma Brooks. I'm the Director of Member and Community Relations for the Greater Lowell Chamber of Commerce. And my co-host is...
Jean Osborne. I am with Lifelinks. I am the Public Relations and Marketing Manager. And
we have a lovely group of ladies here
Yes,
for
we do.
our second guest from Salem 5 Bank. We have Amy LaMarche, the Market Manager. We have Melody Anoli Marcotte, the Business Development Specialist, and Karina Lombardo, the Customer Experience Manager. So welcome. You all sound like you have such important jobs there.
Thank you so much
you.
for having us.
they're all blonde, too. Did you notice
I
that?
know.
All natural.
They're all natural. Wow, what a wonderful thing. Me too.
So tell us about Salem 5 Bank, who you are, where you're located, and what you're about.
Well, there's so much to tell about Salem 5. I guess I'd like to give you an overview of who Salem 5 Bank is and where we first originated from. We
Yeah.
originated in Salem, Massachusetts over 160 years ago. Over the course of the years, we've developed into 34 locations across Massachusetts.
Wow.
We are a community mutual savings bank. We're FDIC and DIF insured. The amazing thing about Salem 5 that I want to get across to everybody is Salem 5 umbrellas multiple divisions. For instance, we have a Salem 5 mortgage, Salem 5 insurance, and Salem 5 financial. And what that means is in any one of our locations, any one of our 34 locations, you can walk in, whether you're a customer or not, and if you need a pre-approval on a mortgage, you know, we have an officer right there. If you're looking to refinance, we have an officer, a loan officer right at our location at 2171 Main Street in Tewksbury. With that, we have an insurance division right there as well. If you have your declaration page on your car, your auto, your commercial loan, we're able to look to see where we can save you some money. The Salem 5 financial piece of it, we have a certified financial planner at our location, and there's one at every one of the locations that I discussed. And you can have estate planning done. You can have educational planning, retirement planning, which is really important because when you're ready to retire, you don't want to wait until retirement to find out if you're going to outlive your money. You need to have a plan, a 5 or a 10-year plan, and that's what Salem 5 is really about. It's to give the opportunity to the consumer to sit down and find where we can navigate to help them out. The most exciting part I love about Salem 5, and I want to get across to everybody, is our free ATM network. It's amazing. So you can bank with us any place that you are at any time to have access to your funds or money.
So no
and
ATM fees?
No ATM loans, yep.
That's
The
huge.
network, in our
Yeah.
network, in our network, yes.
Right.
That's awesome. And I didn't realize you were so widespread in terms of how many locations you have and how many services you offer. So,
Well, I like the fact that they're one-stop shopping.
yes.
So you can go in and do your banking, but you can also speak to a financial planner, and you can also get your mortgage or your car loan or other services there.
Well,
which is-
spring is here, and it's the best thing, people walk in, and
wanna-
we're able to give that free pre-approval on their, mortgage right there on the spot, because we have the lender right there to be able to do it.
And especially now too, because it's spring, they
Yep.
might want to do some remodeling. So you do some HELOCs,
Yep.
some home equity lines.
Great promos going on.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And
There you
having
go.
a financial advisor in every location, I mean, not every bank offers that.
Right.
So I think that's huge that
And
people
it
have
stays
that.
in-house, because it's, like I said, Salem 5 umbrellas all of those divisions, which is
Yeah,
really
which is good, yeah.
So you're pretty new to the Merrimack Valley.
very new.
So you've been here for 4.5 years?
Yes.
Yes. And you're out in Tewksbury off of 38
Yep,
near the Wilmington line.
yep,
So now you're trying to break into this
In
market here.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
We've actually touched upon a lot in this market so far. We can get into that. Karina can get into that with
Right.
some of this stuff. I don't know.
Oh. Yeah, Salem 5 is very, in the community, we do a lot of events. We sponsor a lot of the big event, charities, and that we're very big into helping the Lowell General Hospital with their Team Cancer Walk, which is coming up in June, on June 10th. So we'd love to see everybody down there. It's a great event. It's
Such a great event.
a huge thing, Another thing we're very much done, Melody and I had helped, we went to the Megan House in Lowell where we did a huge homemade Italian dinner for the girls
Oh,
there.
excellent.
And they
That
got
must be
involved
there.
with us in making, the meatballs,
Yeah,
the sauce, the
meatballs.
pasta, and we got to really get to know them, which was a great thing as well with all their, things. Another thing we are very bigly involved is we help out with the Tewksbury Police Department, the Fire Department. We do a lot of their events. We do a lot of hands-on, which I think is great because, that's what it's about. It's to help others, and I think that's what Salem 5 is about. Anyway, we are very big into the community, so we help with any, Halloween, the safety Halloween, the
Lions
bike
Club.
rodeo, that kind of stuff. The Lions Club, we do a lot with the Lions Club.
So you guys
And
are
that-
very ingrained into
Oh,
the
yeah,
local
and the-
community.
Yeah, and the food
Well, and,
pantries and,
That's really
You don't
funny because
stop.
I'm on the board of Megan's House.
oh, are you?
Yes.
Oh,
And
really?
I'm involved now with the Tewksbury Lions Club, getting
Oh,
ready
cool.
to
Oh, well
do
then
their
golf-
The golf
their
tournament.
I'll see you
we'll
Thursday.
see you at the meeting, yes, yes.
Yeah, so I'm on the golf committee
We're
for
going to
that.
be on the field.
field,
We're gonna be
yep,
on the,
yeah.
on the golf
Yes,
course
on the
field.
field.
Well, I know.
Yeah, that's really wonderful that you're embedded in the community and the support that you give
Oh, yeah.
to the community is so important in the Greater Lowell area.
Yes.
Well, it's
So-
much funner for us to get out and do it rather than just hand them a
Yeah.
check.
Yeah.
Like, we'd
Yeah.
rather be out there.
Right, yeah, and that's how you meet, you meet other people along the way. The networking that you're doing, you're meeting a lot of other organizations and a lot of other people. And that all is
Yeah.
very helpful to the bank.
Oh, yes, it is.
And all the organizations you mentioned are all small community-based organizations, not
Yes.
like huge nonprofits that cover
Yep.
all different states. What you're doing is helping this community specifically,
Very
which is great.
Yeah.
So what else are you trying to accomplish in the Merrimack Valley?
Well, I feel like personal finances can be challenging. Salem 5 has ways to uncomplicate money for people, and that's kind of our motto. You might have seen it around there, and that's what it really is. When you walk into Salem 5, that's what our goal is, to help uncomplicate your money. We deliver reliable financial advice to people to help them, build their financial futures. We try to partner with businesses and their employees, whether they bank with us or not, to try to build a relationship and see where we can help out.
So you want to raise awareness
Exactly.
is the main goal.
Well, the Chamber of Commerce was a really good start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well-
getting into the community and supporting local charities is also great. And if you uncomplicate banking, it's even better for the public.
That's the
Challenging
idea.
thing. They have great ways of doing that. We work hard, so in the coming years, it's easier for the consumer.
So can you tell us all a little bit about yourselves and what your specific roles are exactly?
Well, I guess I'll start. Going back to the beginning, I'm a city girl. I was born and raised in Cambridge, and I was actually a competitive figure skater.
Oh, wow.
So spent a lot of time in the rink, but I always sort of maintained my love of sports and being active. I am married, but I came into banking as a part-time teller when my kids were in preschool. And, just to sort of fill in the gaps, make some money. And I found I actually liked the job and I could be helpful to people. So since then, I've been the teller and the personal banker, branch manager, business development officer. And I've also, through doing all the roles in the branch, I can really help my customers kind of navigate the banking area, because sometimes it can be confusing.
I was going to say, you must have a lot of patience, because I'm sure that cannot be easy, especially being behind the line, being a teller and dealing with people if they're frustrated. I mean, kudos
we
to you.
get pretty good at that, because you know what, the best thing is when somebody comes in really mad and you win them over
Yep.
and they leave thanking you.
Yep.
But some of the really fun part about my job is actually getting out of the branch and visiting my business clients. I've got customers that do all sorts of things, and I think of two of my guys that own an auto repair shop, but they restore antique cars as well,
Interesting.
and their work is just beautiful. So it's really cool to go in and see what they do. But aside from that, when I'm at my business clients' place of business, I really understand what they're doing and what their challenges are, and then I'm better able to suggest some sort of solution, may it be a loan or merchant services or some other sort of thing. So, it's really nice to hit the road too,
Yeah.
get out and about.
It's nice to get out of the
Yeah.
office and see what the people that you're actually helping and see what they're doing with it. So
yes.
that's great.
So that's been great. Yes. What about Mel?
Well, Mel. Mel is a mother of 4 sons, married, came from the North Shore area, moved up to the Merrimack Valley area about 25 years ago. I originally came from the fitness industry, and I found when I moved over to the banking industry and I met these lovely ladies, that there was a definite similarity in both industries. I mean, your health is important, but your financial wealth is also important, and I found that it was easy transition for me to move over. I, spend time with my boys. What I do at Salem 5 is I do a lot of business development, like getting in connection with you, trying to see where we can help out in the community, trying to put maybe a little modern twist on banking that, might be a little bit different, because I wasn't in the banking industry. I also have my life insurance, personal life insurance license, so it does help out. A lot of people don't like to talk about life insurance because it's something that they don't think is ever going to happen to them, but everybody needs to reevaluate it, look at it, let's discuss it. So I bring a lot of things to the forefront. So it's been well. I've been with these girls for about 3.5 years. I've been 20 years making individual plans for people, so I could come over and do the exact same thing over here at Salem 5, and it's been amazing.
Your turn.
Tell us about yourself. I live in Billerica. I'm married. I have a teenage daughter. I've been in banking for 20 years. Started from being a teller and working my way up to where I am now. I'm big involved in the community. I help a lot of my long-term customers, especially with the technology that's changed in the banking world. So trying to get them adjusted to that, which hopefully I'm doing a good job. And just listening to their needs, and I do, which is good. When I'm not working, I do a lot in my community, and one thing I'm big into is with my daughter at our church. Her mission group does a lot of fundraising in that to go on mission trips, in the summer to help people who are not as fortunate as we are. But our biggest fundraiser there was making carrot cakes this month. We did over 200. So between the parents and the
Nice.
kids, we were covered in flour and frosting and all that. But I love doing that stuff. I really believe in helping others.
It's nice, and I'm sure that obviously translates over to Salem 5
Oh, yeah, it
because you guys love to do stuff with the community, and you're involved in the community on your own free time as well, which
Yeah.
I'm sure they really appreciate having people like you as the face of Salem 5.
Hopefully.
So what other organizations are you involved in? I know that you're new to the chamber, but what other organizations? I know Lions Club?
Lions,
Yeah,
yep.
Amy could talk on
Yeah.
what.
Well, I personally was the president of the local chapter of BNI for the
Oh.
past 2 years.
Nice.
And I'm going to be president of Rotary next year, which I'm actually
Tewksbury?
really looking forward to. Actually, Wilmington Rotary.
okay.
We really try to get out in all the varied communities. But, aside from that, it's really just the volunteer stuff that
Right.
we do with Lowell General and the police and fire and so on.
That's awesome. And Karina, I know you had mentioned, this is kind of going off script, I hope this is okay, but you had mentioned the changes in technology. Do you guys have an app for online banking? Can you tell us
Yes.
about that and what you can do in the app and the capabilities of that?
Yeah, well, on the app, you can take pictures of the checks, which is the mobile app, the front and back, which would go into your account.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I'm still fascinated by that. I've
yeah.
never actually tried it myself,
Oh,
but
yeah.
my boyfriend does it, and I'm like, oh my God, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
a lot of people like that feature because if they can't get to the bank or they can't get to an ATM machine, that's what they like doing that, which is great. We also have what's Pop Money, which is another technology where they can transfer money from their account to somebody else's using an email or a cell phone text,
That's
and
so
that, which is
convenient.
also a good feature too. And just the online part of it, I mean, able to pay your
your bills.
bills and
a wonderful
check to
thing.
see what's going on, so that's been a big, feature in the banking world.
Well, one of the things that we just had a complete systems reset,
Upgrade?
conversion upgrade. And if anybody has been involved in such a thing, it is a ton of work, but the idea was for us to be able to support these advanced technologies and even technologies that are yet to come, when we're going to blink our eyes and be transferring money.
Yeah.
But we really wanted to make sure, like, systems and technology are so important to Salem 5 that we invested the money and the time to make sure we're cutting edge and we can really serve our customers as they need to be.
And I'm sure
Well-
they appreciate that.
Right, because a lot of people, let's face it, don't want to go into a bank every day. They would prefer to do it in the comfort of their home. So when they're doing their bills and they're doing taking pictures of their checks, they, they're in the comfort of their home. They don't have to drive and get out, and so anything that makes it convenient for the customer is always a big plus.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, we're almost out of time.
Oh, wow.
It goes by so fast.
Thank you, that's great.
It does go by
thank
really
you.
fast.
Can you give everyone your contact information, the website, the phone number, and how they can get in touch with you if they want more information on Salem 5?
Linked, Salem 5, we're at 2171 Main Street in Tewksbury. Our phone number is 978-658-7270. And our email is, it's our first name, first name dot last name at Salem5 spelled out .com.
Or you could go on to www.salem5spelledout.com/Tewksbury. It goes right into Amy. You'll see Amy's face right there on the website. Then you know you're there, and then you can chat with her right there, and come on in, just come down, because we definitely always have events going on. We do a customer appreciation day for our customers, so it's really it's a great bank. It really is.
Well, thank you all for being here. It
Thank you
was
for
a
having
pleasure
us.
getting to talk to you and learn
Yes,
more
it
about
was.
Salem 5 Bank.
Thank you.
And thank you for tuning in. We'll be back with one final segment of Chamber Chat TV.
LTC programming is supported by technology, the creativity.
Lowell Telecommunications Corporation.
The world comes to Lowell, Massachusetts.
Welcome back to Chamber Chat TV. We are back with our final segment. My name is Emma Brooks. I'm the Director of Member and Community Relations for the Greater Lowell Chamber of Commerce. My co-host is
Jean Osborne. I am the Public Relations and Marketing Manager for Lifelinks in Chelmsford.
And our final guest today is Virginia Crocker Timmons. She's a business and executive coach with Soundboard Advisors. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Glad to be here.
We're excited to have you back. You've been on the show before, so we were just saying you're a pro
You're
pretty
no
much
pro,
at this point.
Yeah. You're no pro.
But for anyone who's not familiar with Soundboard Advisors, can you tell us a little bit about you and what you do?
Sure. I work either one-on-one with individuals or with organizations to help them achieve greater levels of success and sustain purpose and balance in their lives through business and executive coaching. I work in like 3 pillars of the business. So one is strategy and strategic planning, one is people development, and the third is process excellence. So I can help a business if you don't have a strategy to develop one or to refresh it. We can look at, do you have the right people with the right skills and knowledge to implement it, who know their role in moving it forward? And then do you have the right processes and systems in place, and can they be made better so that you can become more profitable? And when those 3 things are in sync, the strategy, the people, and the process, the business is in a much stronger position to then create not just a customer community, but what we call a loyal customer community. So you're creating a customer base that's coming back, that's giving you referrals, and that best positions you for your future strength and future growth.
Which is hard because a lot of times it's easy to get a customer to buy something from you once or use your services one time, but keeping them is the real challenge.
So what does an ideal customer for you look like? What a profile of what an ideal customer would look like?
For me?
Yes.
It really varies. I work with very small business owners, solopreneurs. I do work with nonprofits, and I work with very large corporate clients. The development processes that I use and the strategic planning and the process enhancements are really agnostic to the type or the size of business. So it really needs to be somebody who, oftentimes it's somebody who's stuck and is trying to get unstuck.
You mean growth-wise?
Yep, or
So they're kind of-
business-wise, or maybe it's somebody that's at a certain level of success and now they want to push it up another level.
Okay.
Organizationally, it's often somebody that's going through like a cultural change, or needs to really pump up the skills of their organization.
Okay.
So,
How do you distinguish between customer satisfaction and customer loyalty?
so Emma, it kind of goes back to the comment that you just made about a customer coming once. There's 2 things you can measure. You can measure satisfaction or you can measure loyalty when you're trying to assess your customer relationships. If I'm measuring just satisfaction, the trap you can run into is you're measuring the person's satisfaction with the attributes of a product or the attribute of a service. So I could tell you, yes, I'm satisfied with this table that I bought from you, right? When I need another table, will I come back to you? If I'm satisfied? Maybe, maybe not.
Yep.
If I'm a loyal customer, you're now crossing the line over into what value do I perceive that I get from you. So if I had a no kidding great experience from the moment I started trying to pick out the table to when I purchased it to when you delivered it, that's going to start setting you apart from your competitors in my mind.
Right.
And the next time I need a table, you can bet I'm going back to you.
It's a,
So it's about
positive experience.
right. So
Yes.
the loyalty is about the overall experience and the emotional connection that you're creating with that customer community, whereas satisfaction is more narrowly tied to just the attributes of what they bought.
I think one thing too that can set a company apart and make someone loyal to them is if you have a bad experience, but then their customer service to resolve it, if they go above and beyond compared to other companies that
Right.
you've dealt with, I think you can set yourself apart even if they don't necessarily
Absolutely.
have a great experience, but you
Right.
can earn their loyalty after the fact.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of companies do not do that. You know, you have companies that if you have a bad experience and then you go to the customer service end of it, and if they're not cooperative, and I've had that happen to me,
Yeah.
where I'm to blame rather than, you know, what happened to the customer always
Yeah.
being right. So it's a bad effect. Of course, you're not going to ever use that product, or you're never going to use that hotel or
Yep.
what have you again.
And
So-
it's that thinking about how can you go above and beyond the expectation,
Right.
not just meet it. Exactly.
Yeah.
How would an organization know what a loyal customer is worth?
There's been a lot of studies out there in terms of valuing the worth of a customer. One of them concluded that if you can increase your customer retention by 5%, your profits will increase between 25 to 100%. I like to take a really simple approach with my clients when we're trying to value the worth of their customer, where you look at the number of revenue opportunities you have with that customer and the gross revenue that customer brings in. So suppose you own a grocery store, right? And let's say on average, the average customer comes in once a week and buys $100 worth of groceries. If I come in and buy $100 worth of groceries and I have a satisfying experience, but not one that I value, I may never come back again. My customer worth to you is $100, right? It's one
Right.
visit times $100.
Yep.
If I'm a loyal customer and I shop at your store every week for a year, my value is now $5,200 to you. It's 52 weeks times the 100. And if on average the life of a customer in a grocery store is 10 years before they move to another community or whatever, my value to you is now $52,000.
Right.
Right? So
When you think of it
can
like
see,
that-
you can see the
Right.
difference in between just the one-off customer and the loyal customer. And the other thing that the loyal customer will do for you is start the word of mouth
I was
advertising.
just going,
Yep.
I was just going to say that.
Right, and-
Right, because it's not only going to be the customer that's going to shop there. It's
Right.
going to be the extended family,
Right.
friends, and we all know that good news is, you know, word of
Yep.
mouth is huge.
And it takes typically, they say statistically, it takes it's 5 times more costly to acquire a new customer than to keep an old one. So if you're constantly having to go and find that one-time shopper, you're spending 4 to 5 times more than
Right.
your competitor is.
Time is money.
So absolutely.
It's so true. The referrals you can get, I mean, when I was in college studying communications, that's the first thing they told you. Word of mouth is the most
Yeah.
important form of advertising, and you can spend so much money putting it into other areas like commercials and things like that. But
Right.
if you hear someone that you know and trust recommend a place, I think that's more likely to get someone than if they saw your ad 10 times on TV. So
Yep.
And worse experience travels a lot faster.
that's true. That is
does,
very
absolutely.
true.
Travels a lot faster.
Are there any metrics that businesses and their leaders can use to track and assess customer loyalty?
Yeah, I like to work with a model that Fred Reichheld came up with in a book called The Ultimate Question. And he suggests that you ask your customer base one question, and that is, would you refer us to a friend? And you take the responses to that, you ask your customers to scale it or answer on a scale of 1 to 10. And then you can tier the responses. So you'll have loyal customers that respond in the 9 to 10 range, and you'll have disloyal customers, we call them, or diminishers, that are in the 0 to 6 range, right? And then the 7s and 8s are neutralizers. Well, if you look at the percentage of loyal customer responses minus the percentage of diminishers, that becomes your customer loyalty score.
Interesting.
And you can look at that at different times. You know, you can look at it at a point in time and say, am I greater or below 50% or where I want to be? You can look at the trend. And then, you know, do I need to do something with my strategy and how I'm creating those emotional connection points with my customer? You can also extend the same thing to your employees and measure your employee loyalty score. Same thing, loyal employees, neutralizers, and diminishers. And when you start to create loyal employees who really are behind you in developing that loyal customer relationship, it just skyrockets. Your market goes up, your market share goes up, your retention for your employees goes up, your profitability goes up, your costs go down.
So how often would you say a company or organization should be reevaluating this? I mean, should they do it every year, every 5 years? How often should they be looking at their strategy and what they're doing?
The customer loyalty measurement is often done like once a year. The strategy, there's different levels of it. I mean, a full-up strategic plan may be every 2 to 3 years, but when you're starting to look at the strategy of the experience you're giving your customer, you can pick any process that you're using and do that, you know, at any time. It's a matter of laying out the flow and what are they experiencing at those different points in time. And I would say, depending on what those trends are doing, that may also mandate the frequency of how often you go back and make adjustments.
How can a business create an experience that fosters a strong, loyal customer base?
So we talk about that in terms of points of connection. So to the point, I think, Jean, that you made earlier, if you're, I'm going to use another example. So you're driving on your vacation, right, to your next hotel destination, and all of a sudden a big storm comes in, and you've got to pull over earlier than you thought and find somewhere to stay. So you get off the highway, you turn the corner, and you see this beautifully lit sign that says, "Welcome, we have vacancies." Right? You drive up to the hotel, the attendants help you out of your car with your luggage, the clerk smiles and checks you in, and the bellhop takes you up to your room, and you open the door, and you have 4 people, and there's 1 bed. Right? So then the bellhop takes you down to sit in a lounge area, okay, and he goes and corrects the problem, takes you to the new room, which can accommodate 4 people. You go out, you have a dinner at the hotel that's okay, you know, not bad, not great. You get some sleep, you check out in the next morning, the manager says, you know, apologizes for the inconvenience that you had the night before, and you're on your way. And then 2 weeks later, you get your credit card bill, and you're charged for both rooms instead of 1 room, and it takes you 6 phone calls to correct it. Right? So when you think about that, what are some of the points of connection that you as a customer had?
I mean, just the first arrival, getting there,
Yep,
and having people help you out of your car,
yep,
The bellhop,
the bellhop,
the clerk.
yep,
the customer service after the fact.
yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so you can start to look at those different points of connections and the experiences and the emotional connection you're creating with your customer. And the aggregate of that then contributes to that perceived value that I talked about, right? Of their perceived value of you over your competitor. You made the point earlier about going above and beyond, like in the customer service, to correct an error. Well, that hotel may have missed an opportunity, right? Instead of the manager saying, "I'm sorry for the inconvenience," maybe they should have given them a free room.
Yeah.
Right.
Right? Or instead of moving them to a room that can accommodate 4 people, maybe they should have upgraded them to
a
the
suite.
penthouse suite.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
Or pay for dinner or something.
Something,
Right.
yeah.
Something, some
Right.
kind of, something to keep their loyalty because they messed up.
So creating that positive experience is about looking at every single one of those points of connections in your process.
And if you narrow it down like that, it'll show you where exactly you went wrong.
Right, right.
And believe it or not, we're almost out of time.
Great.
I can't believe it went by so fast.
Always goes by fast.
I know.
Always.
This one went by faster, I feel like, than the others. But if you could give everyone your contact information, let them know how they can reach out to you if they want help with any of this, that would be great.
Sure. So my email is virginia@soundboardadvisors.com. It's all one word. My phone number is 978-618-3807. And you can also reach me at my website at www.soundboardadvisors.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you for tuning in. If you want any more information about any of these businesses that you saw on Chamber Chat TV today, call us at the Chamber. We're happy to help you. And thank you, Jean, for being my co-host.
Oh, yes, hey, anytime.
And thank you again for tuning in. We'll be back next month with a new episode of Chamber Chat TV.